the dark side of antibiotics.
Oh, man. And it does have a dark side. It's definitely done a lot. Antibiotics have done so much for the world, but there is a dark side there, and we'll be discussing it today. If you don't have your health, what do you have?
You are a functional medicine doctor.
Join us as we blend modern and ancient wisdoms to be well now.
Welcome to the Be Well Now podcast. I'm Nick, the Curious Patient, and Dr. Ron Dummar joining us here today. I was on antibiotics a lot as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I have a sense that it kind of disrupted my GI tract. I had a lot of acne as a kid, and I just sort of wonder, was my gut all messed up?
Yeah.
From so many ear infections. Then I got on tetracycline for acne, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically enough, there's probably something in there that didn't help when I was trying.
One antibiotic to another.
One antibiotic to another. So this is a subject that's like near and dear to my heart, right? And I have kids, and so they have issues with, they get sick, and you wonder, should you give them the antibiotics? Should you not? All this to say, you're a functional medicine doctor. Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit and tell me what it is you want to kind of communicate to the people. I'm one of your patients about antibiotics.
Well, yeah. So, Nick, I've been practicing natural health and healing for a long time here in Heber City. We're going on, I think, my 17th or 18th year here of independent private practice in the Valley, and utilizing all sorts of techniques as minimally invasive as possible. And the idea really is to create optimal wealth for our patients.
Wealth and health.
Yes. Did I say wealth? Optimal health for our patients.
I think
That's
as we
funny.
say in the intro, though,
I want you to be wealthy and healthy. Yes.
There's actually this yoga guy that I watch, and he, at the end when he's saying namaste, he's like, much health, much wealth. And it's like, why do I have an aversion to that? Like, I think
they should go together.
I would want to wish somebody wealth.
Well, and to be honest, your health is your wealth. And if you don't have your health, you'll soon lose your wealth trying to get it.
But like in the intro, it's like, if you don't have your health, what do you have?
Exactly.
Seriously, what do you have?
Yeah.
Everyone takes it for granted until it's too late. I digress.
Yeah, and that's fine. But that was all because I misstated and said that. That's all right. But anyway, your health is really what we're here to achieve and to optimize. And so as a young student, I was very curious into the Eastern approach to healthcare and how evaluating and assessing the world around them was a clue to application of medicine to their own bodies. So they saw the world around them essentially as a analogy or analogous to how to treat their own bodies. So using different elements like wood or earth, minerals and things like that, they would use that as an application to the body to essentially promote health. And so I have set up this practice in the Valley to essentially espouse natural health and healing and minimally invasive techniques. And that doesn't mean that I shy away from all medication and discourage or disparage all medication surgery. In fact, there are certain times I have to encourage that, and I think it is the right option. It's just a matter of having the appropriate tools available so that you can know when that option is necessary. For instance, I have 5 boys and 1 girl. I have 6 children. And I've not had to give them antibiotics. My oldest is 22. My youngest is 6. They've not been sheltered or kept up in the house. They've played just like any other kid and played around in the dirt and been hiking and camping and traveled to different countries. And I've never, ever had a need, let's say. I've given them herbal stuff, and I've treated them in that way to prevent any infections or to treat infections that they have gotten. But I've never gotten to the point in their lives where I've had to give them a synthetic or a medication or a medical antibiotic.
Yeah, and I think that when you have kids, this whole equation changes, right? You're happy being natural health, preventative guy. At least I was. And then you have kids and you're like, I just don't want them to suffer. So I don't know. My son had a really bad respiratory thing, and mom wanted him to go to the pediatrician, so he got prescribed albuterol. I went to Walgreens and filled the prescription. just to do my duty. I came to you. We got a nebulizer, did some food grade hydrogen peroxide, and I believe some, food grade peppermint oil, and we used the nebulizer for a few days, and yeah, the respiratory thing hung on for a little bit, but he healed.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a cool thing to see that and not have to go to the thing that I got at Walgreens that's synthetic that I know is prescribed because there's a lot of data showing that it can help relieve things. And I'm not the doctor, but in that situation, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I had to believe a little bit, but I had to convince his mom, but it was like, it worked.
Yeah, well, and we're taught in our society to essentially believe that Western medicine has all the answers, to believe that this quote unquote new science is the only way of being. When the world, when you look at the world around you, it's actually been self-sustaining for millennia, for thousands of years. And if all of us and all of mankind went away, the world would still be managing itself quite well.
Okay, but we have to acknowledge, and you're right, but antibiotics has saved countless lives, right?
For sure.
So I think, can we just at the beginning acknowledge the pros of antibiotics in terms of the development of
absolutely.
medicine, and then we can go into some of the cons.
So antibiotics came on the scene in the 40s, 50s.
So we're less than 100 years of this.
Mm-hmm.
That's so fascinating.
And they and honestly, it was a significant boon, and they're one of the major causes of death. One of the main leading causes of death was infection, right? And so to find a mode or a method that could be applied that could prevent people from actually dying from these infections, it was crucial. It was critical. And so we needed to come up with a strategy, and antibiotics basically took the helm and said, we're going to meet the bill here. We're going to fit the bill, and we're going to get this done. And that's what antibiotics did. It's what it accomplished for a lot of people. So antibiotics ramped up. It was like a miracle cure at the time. That's how it was presented. There came a great rush to continue to develop a variety of different kind of antibiotics, different types of antibiotics, and antibiotics almost at a certain point became the cure-all for virtually any office visit. It seemed lots of people, you would go to the doctor, okay, well, here's this antibiotic, even for things that wouldn't necessarily be shown in the research or be shown to be indicated that antibiotics are going to.
Like, how about as a kid, acne? Or is that not? That's
no,
way too.
No, but maybe ear infections is a better one, because most of your ear infections are actually viral. They're not really bacterial. Biotic is a bacterial species. The antibiotic suggests that it's going to prevent and protect you from a biotic species. So if you have a viral infection, there's not really much that an antibiotic is going to do for that.
Gotcha.
However, antibiotic is the most prescribed medicine for ear infections.
Ear infections are so brutal.
But again,
much pain,
ear infections are mostly viral. And so what will happen, and parents, this is maybe a message to you as well, we need to be careful. We need to maybe take a little more confidence in the word of some doctors and in the word of maybe in the world around us and in the body of our child, recognizing that body has the capacity to heal and understands what it needs to do. Like a fever, for instance, is designed to kill pathogenic factors. And you will, if you have an elevated fever, you will eliminate more pathogens if you allow your fever to be elevated in your stool than if you don't. So if you try to suppress the fever and keep it down, then the likelihood is you're going to just store that pathogen in your body for a later time, or it becomes dormant and gets stored in the body somewhere. You have a much greater chance of clearing the pathogen if you allow the body to take its course. So oftentimes parents, you will show up to doctors' offices and put a significant amount of pressure on them to give you something, because you feel like when they say to you, well, you know what, if you just let this run its course, what we know in medicine is that the majority of earaches, ear pain, the majority of them will self-resolve on their own in 10 days. And the typical standard course of antibiotics is
10 days.
10 days, right? So, of course, it's going to work for the majority of cases to give you antibiotics, because it is also going to self-resolve, even if we didn't give you antibiotics, right? And so it's important to also, in this case, take some, have a level of confidence in the healing capacity of the body when given proper nutrition, when given proper nutrients and vitamins and minerals, and supported and well hydrated to actually heal.
Would you just caution a little bit of patience, because people want it right now?
Yeah, have patience. Have patience. And recognize that when a doctor is telling you that there's nothing that they need to do, they're not saying there's nothing they can do at the time. They're saying your body has the capacity to heal, so go heal. Like, get some rest, stay hydrated, get proper nutrition, vitamins, minerals, nutrients. That's what they're saying. And so I don't think that you need to be upset with a medical provider who says to you and to your child, I'm not going to put a synthetic medication in your child. I'm not going to drug your child. I think you should be grateful to that care provider. And so maybe that's a first note, is recognize that we don't always have to leave with something, right? In fact, maybe what we leave with is some education, or maybe what we leave with is a recommendation of something we can do at home. But we don't have to leave with a prescription every time we go to the doctor.
I think just being seen and being heard and getting some words of encouragement that, like, your body is doing the right thing and you're going to be okay, or whatever you say. I think that's, a lot. As you know, obviously, between the ears, right? Like, what's happening mentally plays a huge role in a patient's care. So just being seen, I think, and validated, even for my kids who are 7 and 8 now, when they go to the doctor, it's like they feel like they've done, I don't know. It does feel better to at least have your symptoms listened to, and then, having gone to the doctor, whether it's you or someone else.
And they're a professional. And so it is nice as a parent to know, am I okay to proceed with caution, right? Or are we okay to continue to treat this at home, or are we at a stage where we need to take more significant steps of intervention, right? And I think that's what your care providers are for, right? How do we treat this?
Right. So let's talk about antibiotic resistance, resistance, because I think I was part of the test generation where every time I had an ear infection, and there were plenty.
Me too.
I was
right there. Ear infection.
Myriad antibiotics.
In fact, when I do otoscopy and I evaluate people's ears, especially a lot of our pediatric patients, I'll evaluate their ears, and the parents love it. We use a screen and monitor, and they can see their inside their ear, and it's like the first time they've ever seen that, and actually a lot of adults, it's the first time too. They've never really seen inside the ear, but we show that to them, and it's quite fascinating. But then I like to show them my ear as well, because my ear just looks so scarred. The tympanic membrane looks so scarred everywhere. And I had so many infections, and you can see where they had placed tubes. And you can see where it had burst in one of my ears, and the other one they had placed tubes. And so I had infection after infection after infection, antibiotics after antibiotics after antibiotics. And I did, as a kid, as a teenager, I remember like GI issues, gut issues. I'd be in church sometimes, or in church meetings, and I would just feel so bloated. And I didn't, you're in a meeting with people, and you don't feel like you can constantly just be running back and forth to the bathroom. It seems a little disruptive. And also, there are just so many things to it that I, as a child, had no idea. My mom was trying to care for me and take care of me as well. And she was doing the best that she knew how.
Yep.
And I love her, and I appreciate my parents for taking care of me. And that should be the attitude that we have to all of our parents, because they're doing the best that they can. Now, with that being said, with all of the benefits and the wonderful things that antibiotics have done, and we should be grateful for what they have done, we also need to take a serious look and say, what are they now doing? And where we are now with regards to antibiotic and the rampant use and overuse of antibiotics, we are developing antibiotic resistance. In fact, the World Health Organization has put out a warning that they believe that the antibiotic resistance is one of the top 5 medical concerns in the world. So that's a big deal, and it's cause for concern. So antibiotic resistance essentially is the leading to the development of superbugs as well. So superbugs that find themselves in hospitals, and it's these bugs or these organisms that essentially develop a resistance to a medication. Well, how do you develop a resistance to an antibiotic, I think, is an interesting question to ask. But essentially what happens is, in what we like to do in our labs when we develop medications, is we try to bring them down to as small a component part as possible, right? To as minimal compound as large. We don't want it to be such a large compound. So we're going to essentially minimize it as much as possible so it has a very specific action. Okay, and the very specific action of antibiotics is to basically to wipe out biotic species. And so when we do that, when we have a very basic, simple compound that we're introducing to the body, it allows those species to figure out that simple compound. Okay, I think we've talked about this a little bit before. Whereas when you introduce a plant, and we'll talk about this in just a second, but you introduce a plant has hundreds of, if not thousands of compounds in it. Many of them that are polyphenol, antioxidant, they can be antibacterial, antipathogenic, right? There's lots and lots of compounds that are introduced to the body. And because of the complexity of that compound and the action that it takes on the body, it's very difficult for the pathogenic factors to try to figure out how to neutralize that medication or that compound.
If it's a plant?
If it's a plant.
Like,
right?
you have your herbal antibiotic medication here, which is incredibly potent.
Exactly.
Just because I've tried your antiviral in tea, and that's quite pleasant. And I tried the antibiotic on a protocol of a year ago.
Yeah.
And it was so strong, I couldn't drink it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. So I used the capsule and filled up the capsules manually, and it actually helped me resolve my symptoms. And ever since, I've been like, this antibiotic is strong.
Yeah, it's strong.
And
it's
this potent. Is all herbal.
It works. 100% herbs. It's 100% herbs right there. And again, one of the reasons we want to utilize the herbs in the plant is because it has a complexity that cannot be overcome, right? It cannot be, by the pathogenic factor, overcome, which essentially means it can't figure out how to defend against it, because it has so many different applications and so many different ways of getting into the pathogen.
Because I think just to the layman, it's like there's some germs or bugs in my body and I'm trying to kill them, so I should use an antibiotic. But it's so interesting that there's a antiviral protocol and then an antibiotic protocol, and they're different.
Yes, exactly. Those protocols in our office are different. Yep. Absolutely. And another one, secondly, with the antibiotics, we wanted to talk a little bit about the dark side of them. But one of the things is that the antibiotics do have a tendency to, unselectively wipe out bacteria in the gut and in the body.
And we've talked about this recently, that the leading gut experts in the world acknowledge how complex it is and how little we know about the gut, right? Like, so we're still learning all this stuff, but the fact that we're wiping out everything, to me, says we're probably wiping out some good bacteria.
Beneficial bacteria.
Bacteria is supposed to be
eliminated
in there.
Also.
Yeah.
And so what happens when we eliminate beneficial bacteria, and this gets to some of the side effects, sometimes side effects, people can have diarrhea, they can have constipation, even stool-related effects. You can also have allergies, or some people have anaphylaxis to certain antibiotics. But you can also have the development of Clostridium difficile, which essentially is a very, very serious infection. And you think about it and you go, wait a minute, what do you mean that antibiotics can cause infection? Well, especially long-term or repeated use. If you find yourself needing antibiotics frequently, or if you're using it for long-term, what it will do is the antibiotics will deplete the beneficial bacteria significantly enough to where it initiates the uprising in a significant way of the Clostridium. And so this is literally a way that you can develop an infection, a serious, severe infection, from taking antibiotics.
Well, I think one of the show notes was like mental health issues from overuse of antibiotics, digestive issues, weakened immune systems. I mean, sounds like kind of the story of my life a little bit. It's like, I don't know. I don't know what role antibiotics has played, but I'm certainly a case study in a lot of antibiotics.
Well, and I've treated my gut for a long time, and that was my study and my exploring and discovery as I was going through school and researching and understanding my own health as well, and recognizing as I was studying about all of these conditions and like, oh my gosh, what might be happening or what may have happened to myself. And so basically I took on a lifelong journey to some degree to explore better gut health for myself. And what I found was not just better gut health, but I found better liver health, better kidney health, better by improving the function of my gut and my GI. I have better mental health, better clarity, right? I have better physical health in general. My muscle health, my blood sugar, all of those things improve when your gut health is on par. And so it is really important that we make sure that all of our bacteria, I should say, within the gut are promoted in a way that in Chinese medicine we call it interconsuming. So we want them to be interconsuming as opposed to be, sending in the nuclear bomb to just destroy everything, right?
Yeah, because we talked about superbugs that are resistant to antibiotics. We talked about some of the negative health effects, but there are still times where you need to kill things that antibiotics work on, right? So you have herbs that you have curated through your years of practice, and you have your pharmacy, or I don't know what you call your
pharmacy.
Yeah, your herbal pharmacy. What can work in a way that antibiotic does that is more natural, I guess?
Yeah, so we're going to go over. I want to go over, and we can do this briefly, or we can. Well, we probably need to do it briefly.
Probably briefly. Would be good.
So we'll
comment below. By the way, if you could subscribe, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Every time we get a subscriber on YouTube
you've enjoyed
to this podcast, it's like we work really hard. There's no glory.
Yeah.
There's no glory in this. It's just because of passion. But comment below. Hey, I wish you would have spent longer on each of these herbs or something. Let us know what you're wanting to listen to.
Or I wish you wouldn't have had such a long run up to the herbs. Maybe something like that. Whichever.
I think people have heard that antibiotics are probably problematic, but I think especially as parents, you're reconfronted with all of your assumptions and habits when you're not taking care of little ones. Like, I'm going to eat healthy foods all the time. And it's like, I only want to eat chicken nuggets. Like, what do you do? Right. So that's a food example. But yeah, with medicine, when they get sick, you just, you want to relieve that suffering. So, okay, let's talk about the natural herbs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can be antibiotic
in
nature.
I would love to. And I'm going to, one of these first herbs as well that I'm going to talk about is Huang Lian. There's 3 yellows. We call them the 3 yellows in Chinese medicine. And I think I've mentioned this before as well, but they're strong antibiotic properties. Yellow, there's a compound in nutraceutical medicine right now called berberine. It's like hit this stage and everybody's like, oh, berberine.
I heard someone mention berberine for weight loss.
Berberine for weight loss, berberine for blood sugar regulation. So berberine actually helps. It's been compared to diabetic medication, metformin, and it actually it's been compared and performs as well as and in some instances performs better than with certain patients than metformin for regulating blood sugar.
When do you use it? When would you recommend using it?
So the best time to use berberine is to use it in recommendation by your care provider.
There you go.
Because if you have blood sugar issues, first of all, you should be managing that. You very well may need to be on a medication for a certain time. But berberine is one of these herbs that could actually potentially get you off of it or help you get off of that medication. But if your blood sugar is completely out of control, there are a lot more other serious things that need to be balanced. And that's when Western medicine absolutely can take a significant role in your life temporarily. And then you can begin to improve your diet, improve your lifestyle, and utilize berberine to get off of those medications. But berberine is actually it's significantly found in these 3 yellows. And it functions also as an antibiotic and an anti-inflammatory. So Huang Lian is the first one. It's called Rhizoma coptitis, okay? And Huang Lian is a broad-spectrum antibiotic, but it seems to be selective as a broad-spectrum antibiotic to the nefarious antibiotic pathogenic species, and it promotes beneficial bacteria as far as we can tell at this time. And so there have been a lot of studies done on this for its ability to even help with regulating the microbiome, to help with balancing proper flora and the promoting the beneficial bacteria in the body. And so
it's been used in Chinese medicine for thousands of years.
Yeah,
There's got to be some wisdom there too, right?
Yes, we've been using it for such a long time in Chinese medicine. And so there is ancient wisdom, right? So there's got to be this, how do we apply it in our modern world, this ancient wisdom? And it is actually also being researched for its potential, for the potential that it has to combat antibiotic-resistant bacteria.
And it contains berberine, which is this hot new.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was just one little tidbit. It contains a whole lot of other compounds that are beneficial and antibiotic and antipathogenic.
And are these all in the herbal antibiotic formula you have here?
Yes. Everything that we're going to talk about today is in my herbal antibiotic formula.
Got it.
But I want to read to you just some of the things, some of the pathogens that this Huang Lian has been studied to prevent and reduce production of. Okay, so right here, Bacillus dysentery, Mycobacterium tuberculosis, Salmonella, E. coli, Vibrio cholera, Bacillus proteus, Pseudomonas aeruginosa, Diplococcus meningitis, Staphylococcus aureus, beta hemolytic Streptococcus, Diplococcus pneumoniae, Corynebacterium diphtheria, Bordetella pertussis, Bacillus entericus, and Leptospira. So that's a long list of significant pathogens that many of you may have heard or been familiar with, right? Some of you may have been diagnosed with some of those at some point. But this herb has been shown to be effective in treating each of those.
Heck yeah.
So our next herb is Huang Bai. It's called Cortex philodendri.
Okay.
Okay, and Cortex philodendri or Huang Bai is the second yellow. So it's Huang Lian, Huang Bai, and the other yellow is Huang Qin. And Huang Qin, I didn't put all the yellows in there. I figured 2 yellows was sufficient. And
I mean, this is fascinating. I'm glad that
we didn't need all 3 of them.
Okay.
And so, but Huang Bai has actually been shown to be really beneficial for skin infections, for gastrointestinal infections, to promote beneficial bacteria in the gut, and also as an anti-inflammatory. So we use it a lot in not just infections, but also infections that seem to have an inflammatory component. So things like cellulitis could be beneficial with that as well. But a lot of modern research supports the use of using this herbal to reduce inflammation and to fight bacteria.
Excellent.
The other one, the next one is one of my favorites for the throat. So we have Cool Coat Throat. That's another formula of ours, but it's one of my favorites for treating any sort of throat and mouth swelling or sore. It's called Banlan Gun. Okay. So Banlan Gun or Isatis indigotata. It is an antiviral, but it also is antipathogenic. It's antibacterial. And we use it a lot for respiratory related infections and sore throats specifically. I've used this a lot in our office, and like I said, I created an entire formula around this. I'll have patients gargle with it. I'll have them swish with it, and it almost will draw or seep right into the swollen or inflamed area, and you can feel it working. Sometimes it'll have a little bit of a slight sting, but it's like a cooling sting, almost like you applied icy hot to the back of your throat. And so it works very well. And anytime anyone has a sore throat or they have any sort of swelling or inflamed tonsils, right? Tonsillitis, I use it for that a lot too. We'll give this to them and it clears it up really quickly. So this herb has been shown to boost and improve your immune response. It's also been studied for its potential to inhibit the growth of certain viruses. So it's antiviral and it will interfere with actually the replication of viruses. Viruses get into your cell, they hijack your DNA, and they use your DNA within the cell to replicate itself. And so this herb actually interferes in that process and prevents it from being able to hijack your cell so that it can't spread the virus throughout your body.
Okay.
Pretty sophisticated plants, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
I know you believe in the plants.
Oh, my heavens, yes.
I'm hearing it.
Yeah, the plants. So the next one is Pugong Ying. It's Herba Terexae. And this herb is something that everyone knows. It grows out in your front yard. It grows as a weed everywhere, especially in our environment. And a number of years ago, and you guys are probably going to laugh, and so that's why I'm going to share this story with you. You're like, oh, he's such a nerd. He's such a plant nerd. But, I grew up.
Dandelion.
Yes, I grew up spraying the lawn, and the weeds and stuff in the lawn. And I came back to this area, actually, after I had finished my medical training. And I did some more of it just to make sure the lawn and the place that I was living was okay. And at some point, finally, I was like, I can't do this anymore because it hurt my soul to spray the dandelions because I said, we should be consuming this. We should be eating this dandelion leaf, not killing it, not spraying it. So it's been probably 15 years or more now that I have resisted wherever I am. I've resisted spraying the dandelions. So I will try to pick them out and we'll try to pick the leaves. We'll put the leaves in our salads. And I encourage others to do the same, but you need to make sure that they're not sprayed. If they're sprayed, you're going to get other effects from chemicals, things that are probably going to counteract whatever benefit you might be getting by consuming the dandelion leaf. But you can consume the leaf, you can consume the root. Dandelion actually has anti-cancerogenic, anti-tumorigenic properties as well. It's a very, very potent antiviral. And so we use it a lot for infections, even infections that affect the liver. So if you have like hepatitis, even congested liver, chronic congestion in the liver, and other infections in the digestive tract or digestive system, it's very effective for. The other area that it can be utilized, Nick, like you said, it can be utilized for acne. We do have a little bit of dandelion in our herbal facial product that we have our patients apply, and we also use that with our facial with our facial experience that happens here in the office. So it's a very effective herb as well, and that happens to be one of the ones in the herbal antibiotic as well.
Growing up eating just the worst food, just in the Midwest, grape nuts with half and half piled with sugar on top of them, and Cocoa Puffs and pizza and just bread and just, whatever. I wish someone had told me that, diet and the GI tract and herbs could help my acne, because I was hopeless, man.
Yeah.
And it was just, I'm grateful for this knowledge now, and it is what we make the best of what we have.
Nature, some people have said and heard, let food be thy medicine. And I like to expand that, and I like to say, let nature be thy medicine. And it's true, we want food to be our medicine, but there's so many other aspects to health, right? Mental health and physical health and emotional health and getting out in nature, but then also cultivating, gardening, getting your hands dirty. Getting your hands in the dirt is another way of involving yourself in the microflora of the environment around you, and getting a variety of species of bacteria into your body. Okay. Now, all of these exposures, here's the interesting balance, is all of these exposures that we have in the world around us are also the potentials we have for getting an infection.
Yep.
Okay. So, but that shouldn't be a reason for us to fear engaging in the world. It should be a reason for us to understand as much as we can about the world around us, and certain biotic species that interconsume each other. And that's the idea of interconsuming. If you have a biotic species that all of a sudden is getting really, really high, you're like, oh my gosh, this one is becoming infected in our body. Then you need to introduce a plant that encourages a biotic species that can combat against that one and interconsume it. And that's the idea, is to promote a species that is interconsuming and keeping each other in check, not to eliminate species and destroy them. Okay. And it's, again, I've equated this idea of the multiplicity of species in the microbiome to like the coral reef. There's tens of thousands of species in a coral reef, and we want tens of thousands of species in our gut. And so we want to be promoting as much as possible those healthy bacteria. All right, should we do the next one?
How many more we got?
We've got 2.
Let's do it.
Okay. All right, Corydalis. So Corydalis is Yanhu Suo, and Yanhu Suo is actually an herb that I use a lot for, I use this for neurological related issues. We use it a lot for pain in the abdomen or pain in the digestive tract as well. It's been shown in research to be beneficial for seizures, because of the anti-inflammatory and the pain relieving. So Tylenol works on the liver and helps and benefit and reduces pain, like your sensation or your signaling of pain to your brain. Okay, so Corydalis actually works to reduce the inflammation to the nerves, and it helps to clear and soothe the liver so that you're not receiving those pain signals to your brain that say that you're having significant pain there. So it interferes with those pain signals as well. But it's also a little more gentle. It's like gentle yet very effective at managing pain and infection. Okay. It also can inhibit bacterial growth, and it can reduce inflammation in the body, which is one of the reasons we really like to use it in our herbal antibiotic. Did I skip one?
I'm not sure.
I think I got them all. I said there were 2, but I think that was it.
Amazing.
Okay.
So there's lots of good stuff in here that can help you
and there are some other herbs in there as well. And just one more plug for plants over synthetic medications. If you can, ideally, you want to have as diverse of an offensive as possible. If you're a football team, or if you're a soccer team or a basketball team, and you only have one weapon, if that weapon's really, really good, that's fantastic. But as soon as they figure out how to shut that weapon down, or to double team that weapon, or to get rid of it, then they've figured out how to stop you. And that's what antibiotic resistance is. And the plants have basically every member of the team is a weapon when you're using plants. So if you have 11 on the football team, you have 11 weapons. If they shut one weapon down, boom, Here comes another weapon. Okay, that's what we want working for us, and that's the power of plant medicine. Okay, we want the weapons involved in multiple ways to be able to combat and balance, ideally, the bacterial species within our body and promote optimal health and wellness.
Dosage and when to treat, these are still things that a healthcare professional should be involved in, right? Because I think a lot of people will be like, I'll just take the natural way. I'll go to my local store or buy them online, take the supplements, self-diagnose, self-treat. You still recommend the guidance of a healthcare professional?
Oh, 100%. And with my patients, and obviously certain patients are going to need, based on weight or based on frame, they're going to need more. I do have certain patients that are more sensitive to certain medications in general, and so we use a lot less with them. But you're going to want to trust a healthcare professional with dosing and what the appropriate approach is for you, for sure.
If they want to reach out to your office, how can they do so, sir?
So you can reach us at chwheber.com. And you can also call into the office here, look us up. I think we have pretty good reviews online. You can leave us a review after you deal with us. And we appreciate you subscribing.
Yeah, subscribe
and liking and sharing.
Leave a 5-star review on Community Health and Wellness if you feel like the podcast helped. This is an extension of that.
Namaste.
Namaste. Be well now, everybody.
Be well now.